Okay, cool. So good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are, and welcome to our virtual tech days. Today we are joined by Vince from Microsoft. We also have Zukiswa from Teraco, and we have Tony from DevBox. So to introduce myself, I'm Yolandi Robinson, and I'm the peering specialist at Teraco. I'm here today to introduce the others and listen to them. Just some navigation while we have the time. At the bottom of the screen, you will see the Q&A button. Please, if you have any questions for our panelists, pop them in there so we can keep an eye on the questions. We also have a chat function if you like to say hi or engage in conversation on the side, which I hope you do not do because today we have a very interesting chat. As Andrea has mentioned in the chat, please ensure that when sending a message on the chat that you send it to everyone and not just to the host and panels. Okay, so I'm going to give over to Vince to do a quick introduction and then kick off today's session. Over to you, Vince.
Yes, hi Yolandi, thanks. I can't see who's on, I just see us six, but hopefully we've got enough guys listening. Thanks for bringing us through onto this session. We will have a second speaker, my friend Gurav. He'll be touching on a Microsoft Azure peering services. My portion or my section is actually touching on our global network and looking much deeper into ExpressRoute. A lot of you are either customers or partners of Teraco and offering services or consuming services from us. And then just well, I won't say deep dive, but sort of a level 200 on virtual WAN, which is our offering that complements the SD-WAN partners. So let me just go off video just so that I don't get, am I off, am I on? Yeah. Can everyone see the screen? Yolandi? Just
yes, we can.
You can, perfect. Okay, so let's kick off. We've got, I think, 45 minutes and then a bit of a Q&A. The global SDN network, software-defined network, and the software-defined data center design. Think of it, how massive a hyperscaler actually has to grow to make a global footprint. When you look at our network, you'll realize we much more than just MS Office nowadays. We are the biggest or second biggest, depending on day of the week, global network compared to Google themselves. So it's ourselves and Google who are the two big contenders. So definitely when it comes to regions, we're close to 62 regions now with another 4 in planning. And just again, another stat, that is more than both of our nearest competitors together. They don't make 62. So looking at this, our submarine global map, what we have is we take advantage of all the fiber in the oceans, in the submarine cables, plus a lot over land, and especially the ones I can touch on are the ones in Africa. But all of these lays and access to every continent, we take advantage of. And if you look at next click, you'll actually see a very high level of what the Microsoft Global Network looks like. Of course, massive data centers split in US, North and East, and even West, looking at Europe, all across Europe, all the way up even into the Nordics. On the East side, you'll see the whole of East Asia, massive growth in that area. And then down south, we've even got a new, and it has been launched, it's showing that it's still spinning, but New Zealand's also launched. So Australia and New Zealand. On the East, you'll see South Africa, you'll see us straight in on the African continent, and that's the only 2 regions in the geo Africa. And I'll touch what a geo is, what a region is just now. But you'll notice that we don't have a full region down in SA West. It is a satellite region. So a full region is north with availability zones, and the satellite region is in SA West, which is in Cape Town. And the difference between the two are all services, let's say all, about 80–85% of services in SA North, and only HA and DR services allowed in SA West, plus network connectivity. So that's the difference between those two. But on the bottom, you'll actually see how many miles of fiber we have in subsea cable. Over 130,000 kilometers of cable itself. We've got 2 of our own cables, and those are in the area of, let me just draw it here. In this area here, we've got our own Maria cable, 1.6 terabits. And then we've got our own cables from east across all the way around and coming into west of US. So going around the globe that way. The beauty of that is we actually partner with 1 or 2 of the big social media guys, Facebook and others. I just can't say them all. And those partners are in partnership with these actual cables, giving us the capacity all the way up to 1.6 terabits. Data center design, looking at it, let's start from planet Earth, as I call it, because naturally, and you'll see just now, it's more than just planet Earth. We've got 61 and counting, up to 65, 66 in regions. Now, every region is part of a geo, and every geo has multiple availability zones. Now, this is a geo, and think of this as geo of Africa. And in Africa, you got SA North, and in SA North, we've got 3 availability zones. Now, think of availability zone is a full-blown data center. And those data centers are interconnected, and we'll show a design just now. Now, if you take one of these AZs and you look at data center, we have multiple racks, and within those racks, we've got multiple stamps. Now, a stamp is, say, a compute optimized rack, or services that are memory optimized, or storage optimized, or GPU optimized, or high performance optimized. They are all different stamps. Now, naturally, you don't have all of those services every single time you open up a new DC. So you have a ring 0, ring 1, ring 2, and each ring brings in different services. So compute, memory, and storage are standard, but size of VMs is not a default on ring 0. When it gets to SAP, you need the bigger boxes, 20 terabytes of memory, say 128 cores times 4 sockets. Those boxes don't come on ring 0. It's typically ring 1 or ring 2. Then within a stamp and within a data center, we have a fault domain. Now, a fault domain is a rack on its own. So every rack is a fault domain of its own, and we plug power, cooling, and networking onto each rack. And anytime you build your environment, you build it with fault domains in mind, and availability sets in mind, and then availability zones in mind. So depending on how much uptime, what SLA you want, you decide that you have a single VM or dual VM in different fault domains, or 3 VMs in 3 different zones. And of course, the cost just shoots higher each time you add more resiliency to the solution. But naturally, you know, an application that's always on, mission critical, you're going to be running load balancers across our domains, and those load balancers need to be paid for, but the load balancer points to all the different racks and the different services. So that's just a very high level on how our data center global design is, from planet Earth, region, geo, data center, stamps, and fault domains. If we drill down deeper, per region, we have, of course, Microsoft WAN points of presence, and Teraco is the landlord of Microsoft's backbone connectivity. So I like using that word. Landlord are Teraco because of multi-connectivity options to every single customer or any other carrier and any other provider. So with Teraco, we actually connect all of our providers through. Our big Microsoft WAN has its own edge devices, which are regional network connections. From regional networks, of course, they connect regions. But customer facing, we have different racks of equipment. So we have our CDN, Content Delivery Network, our ExpressRoute that faces all customers that are connecting direct to us on ExpressRoute. And then on Edge or VPN, it's more an internet facing, where consumers or even home users could go through this and then hit our other services. just to show you some timings and the distances influence this. So between Cape Town and Joburg. So on the right-hand side, we've got South Africa North, which is Gauteng. On the left-hand side, Western Cape. You'll notice a one-way trip is about 18 milliseconds between SA North and SA West. If you have a DR and you run VMs in SA North in one of these DCs and you fail over to Cape Town, you then invoke an 18 millisecond. If you have to hit Cape Town and then come back to Joburg, of course, it's double of that. It's 36 milliseconds. But you'll notice the design difference here from north to west, where north has 3 regions. So you've got 3 zones, so it's zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3, and Cape Town has not. Very small, only for DR, but watch the space. I've graded this out on purpose. So regional network gateways, interconnected. You'll notice how these gateways are outside of the buildings where the actual zones are. We can't have a gateway and a zone in the same building because that facility, if the facility goes down, we're actually going to have an outage. So how that builds is we use our own SFPs. And the big plus of that is Madison is our internal code name. But imagine if we had to go and buy all these SFPs from our providers, this is where the money is. It's the more fiber you want to connect over DWDM, the more SFPs, the more bonding. We're currently on 100, we're going to 400 and then 1 terabit. But this is a product that Microsoft designed for Microsoft. We buy chassis from partners and then we plug our own SFPs in. How we get to our 1.6 terabits is exactly this way. And with our SFPs, we actually condense it using Madison, because the beauty of that is we can actually rack and stack them better than what the competitors offer us off the shelf. So resiliency between availability zones and building up to that, you need to know the whole regional design and why we build it in the way we build it, because we naturally cannot have DCs too close to each other because of, say, earthquake or flood or something like that. We don't have the luxury of having multiple power providers. So typically it would be separate power utility providers providing different AZs. But we do have the luxury of distance plus fiber rings around the Gauteng area, which we take advantage of. Between 2 AZs, we don't allow less than 10 kilometers. It must be 10 or more. And also the fiber ring and the fiber speeds cannot be more than 2 milliseconds. So if you look at a very high level, and this is not Gauteng, looks a bit like it, you'll notice that from other regions coming into our region, just say this is SA North, we will hit local gateways, and from the gateways, it hits regional network gateways, all traffic. Regional network gateways are multi-tiered between each other with full redundancy, and every gateway is connected to all 3 of these availability zones. And every zone is interconnected twice into each RNG. These RNGs, if I take a blue line, 1 and 2 are in 2 separate buildings outside of where the actual AZs are. And all of that is in case one RNG goes down, regional network gateway, we can still hit all 3. Or if a zone goes down, the RNGs are still there to route traffic to the other 2 zones. So the design is exactly what you would think of in a spine leaf in a data center, but we've just spread this across the whole of Gauteng. Really high racks when it comes to that. Zone redundancy between our zones, we have to have ExpressRoute gateways that are zone redundant for high availability. So in the case of a regional VM, if we don't tick a box when we're building the virtual machine and say we want this to be zone redundant, we as Microsoft will choose which zone it actually falls into. In this case, that single VM has been deployed because of capacity availability, has been deployed into zone 1. If you spin up and you say, I would like to have 3 VMs in 3 different zones, you then get a full, an option to decide which zone. And by default, we build a load balancer where you have to build your ExpressRoute gateways, and you have to choose zone redundant gateways, so that if a VM goes down, you will still from on-prem go up the link, and because that VM's down, you'll still have a choice of 2 other VMs if you're on this gateway. If this gateway goes down, automatically you get routed to a available gateway. So all of this works automatically in the back end with a load balancer hanging over the gateways and the load balancer hanging over the actual VMs. So this is definitely fully redundant. If you look at the gateway sizes and what SKUs to choose for that, if a customer wants 4 ExpressRoute circuits for high availability and low speed, he can actually go with a standard gateway because it's a 1 gig speed. If the customer wants higher speeds to a 2 or a 10, you're forced to go into the ultra performance, but then you get the benefit of 8 or 16 ExpressRoute circuits connecting for redundancy. The design I normally see is 2 circuits per region, and they go with the ER gateway standard, and this works perfect because typically they'll go with 2 500 meg circuits, and those 2 500 megs are going to give the customer equivalent of a gig per circuit within Teraco across to Microsoft, and that gig per circuit, if they've got a gig going to on-prem, they actually get a gig all the way through. So definitely take advantage of the dual ExpressRoutes. And the only reason why I say a gig, if you bought or the customers bought a 500 meg, we have a primary and a secondary link, and those 2 circuits are active, and you get a 1 gig throughput. So just to build these VMs, yellow VMs will all be available if the load balance is all running and if every one of these gateways are up and running. Any gateway dies, we'll still hit at least 1, 2, or even all 3 of these VMs. So touching on fault domains, I mentioned earlier, fault domain is a rack. So this is a full-on rack. You'll see an update domain is basically a 2U or 4U or 1U, depending on what type of servers we have within a rack. So if we want to update firmware or software layer of this physical server, all the VMs that are running on the server will be moved to another automatically, and then this server can be rebooted because it's a single update domain. So a customer hasn't chosen a availability set. He is just going and he's prepared to take a little bit of risk and have 99.9% SLA, single VM. If customer decides, no, I have got a mission critical app, here is update domain 1, 2, and 3. I mean, fault domain 1, 2, and 3, 3 different racks. Automatically, your app gets built and you run your load balance across all 3 domains. You won't know which rack it's in. This could be in a different region, in a different building of the same region, but in the same availability zone. So I spoke about zone 1, 2, and 3. These 3 racks will be either in zone 1 or zone 2 or zone 3. There is a design that you can have them across zones. But for this demo, you'll see 1 VM running here. You see the 99.9 becomes 99.95. It goes higher in the actual SLA because you are paying us more, of course, but you are spreading your risk across 3 racks and 3 different fault domains. Some DCs, especially in the US and Europe, have availability zones in or on the same campus. And that's where the interconnectivity between these zones, so this is zone 1, 2, 3, and zone 4, that can be, say, 400, 500 microseconds, less than half a millisecond. And the beauty of that is you can start running low latency requirement of apps in these regions. So like SAP HANA, that needs to be under a millisecond, you can run between these 2. But the beauty that they have, and we don't have yet, is utility is separated. So they've got separate suppliers. Some could be renewable and generators. Others could be different providers. And that's the beauty of having a region that has got multiple utility providers you can actually accommodate applications that are lower latency sensitive. So let's just look at resiliencies and what can we actually protect from. Single VM, and we call this nice word, the blast radius. A data center going down, you're looking at 99.95. A zone going down, 99.99. So between one zone and the other. So you notice 9.5 in the same zone becomes 9.9 if you between zones in the same region. And then natural disaster. Worst case, SA North goes down, touch wood, doesn't happen. We then move from one region to another region. Our paired region is South Africa West in Cape Town. And hopefully you are one of the lucky customers that have got DR whitelisted, and then you get your data center and your VMs spun up and available, but through the SA West region. That is the only time we would actually go from one region to another. Otherwise, it's all in the same region, different DCs or different zones. Okay, let's just pull that one just to speed up. I'm watching time. I mentioned on land, so I just thought I'll quickly throw those two sliders in. We've actually got a project running where we have 12 racks running in a container, as you see, and this is fully sealed. And this container is submerged in the ocean. So maybe Teraco wants to expand into Bruma Lake or Hartbeespoort Dam and give us some, some space. We can drop a few of these in. But this is definitely a massive improvement in, of course, cooling and power, and run with full nitrogen, not oxygen, and really a low ratio of failures in servers. In these actual, no man walks in it, of course, but running a full 12 rack in this little capsule. It's in Scotland at the moment, fully submerged, and this is fully working. We're looking at expanding it even bigger, but 12 racks is this initial POC. Let's jump into networking services. How do we connect all of these data centers? You saw the global fiber submarine cable. Major, of course, optical, DWDM, dense wave division, and we've actually got local is as well, also DWDM, interconnected, and of course fiber within the actual data centers themselves. I'm going to touch on ExpressRoute now deeper, and then if we have time, I'll jump into virtual WAN. But looking at Azure networking, when I speak to customers, they think networking is just, a VPN site to site or a point to site or a combination, with virtual WAN. We've got all of these products from networking, security. We've got CDN, we've got front door services for O365, load balancers, application gateways. These are all available from the marketplace, either generic Microsoft, or you can buy from our partners. Connecting to Azure, 4 ways: default, internet, if you've got any internet facing on your IaaS, or if you have internet facing on your PaaS or SaaS services, we can actually, or consumers can hit your services in that way. If you're sitting at home, like most of us or all of us, you can interconnect between your home office or remote office into head office via gateways built in Azure, and coming down a site-to-site VPN, or from Azure coming down to on-prem via ExpressRoute. So this is connecting to. Then we got connecting in Azure. We got VNet peering, where we can actually peer any virtual network within the same region, within the same geo, and and globally with global VNet peering transit. The beauty of that is we can actually peer with SA North, and I can peer with, say, West US. And that peer, exactly the same time, looking at less than 3 minutes to connect a peer, you will then have a VM in SA North connecting directly to a VM in California, say in the West US. The beauty of that is our backbone becomes your own network, and you can just use VNet peering as a patch panel to connect them. If you want to, this is still point-to-point between them. If you want to encrypt and you still want to have higher security even over our backbone, you can run 2 VNet gateways and interconnect them over our backbone as well. And then the last one is connecting through Azure. And that's where you use 2 technologies, virtual WAN, which I'll touch on, and then ExpressRoute Global Reach, which I'll touch on now as well. It's just an add-on or a bolt-on to ExpressRoute. So that leads us straight into ExpressRoute. What does it do? It creates a private point-to-point connection between either your rack sitting at Teraco or your branch or your head office, connecting straight into Microsoft's backbone. Speed-wise, we can offer speeds from 50 megabits all the way through to 10 gigabits per second in South Africa. Soon, we're going to be offering speeds up to 100 gigabits. And that all depends on what SKU you buy from us. And I'll touch on those just now. What you need to actually build ExpressRoute, of course, a circuit, but it's a logical circuit. That circuit gets built in the portal itself. Peering, you need to connect to one of our partners. And I've got a nice slide to show all our partners and how you would actually connect as a cross connect. Route filters, you need to set up BGP between your edge device, or your partner needs to set up BGP between their edge device and Microsoft's edge. And then you need a gateway. And in the gateway, you create multiple connections. And the gateway can be in any region. The connection can be connecting to the exact same gateway in any region. But the peering point is very specific. You have to decide, I'm going to enter on Microsoft's peering in South Africa North, and that's when you point to Teraco Asanda. From there, once you're on our backbone, you can decide where the virtual network is. And in that virtual network, say Western Europe, you create a gateway, and in that gateway, you will then have a connection. And you can have multiple gateways and multiple VNets, depending on what type of SKU of ExpressRoute you actually enable. Points of presence, very high level. There's more, and they're growing by the day, funny enough. Good old Joburg and Cape Town, Asanda and Rondebosch. Those are our two on the African continent. No others on Africa. Only those 2 points. Australia and growing fast. Auckland coming through. A lot in the East, a lot in Europe. And now we've also taken all of the Nordics as well. Those are locations. Logo-wise, you'll see good old logos here, Teraco, smack bang here in Africa, but these are not all of them. There's many more partners, but we're over 200 partners worldwide of customers that we allow to plug directly onto Microsoft's network, and partners providers plug onto us, partners and customers plug through the provider onto Microsoft. A quick high level, and a question I get often is, what does it cost and who do I pay? And I built this little thing this morning just to explain it. You've got customer on-premise, has to reach Teraco. Now, Teraco is this building here. So look at this building in the red. Customer has to reach with a last mile provider. And those providers we internally call, it's becoming an external name now, C1 partner. So this will be a Metro Fiber, Broadband Infraco, all the guys who offer fiber in the ground to connect you to the basement of Teraco. Once you're in the basement of Teraco, you need to step further and actually find yourself a C3 partner. And now these C3 partners are Teraco, of course, Liquid, DD, BCX, BT, Vodacom, MTN, and Orange. These are all partners that are in SA North only. SA West have got a different list, very similar, but they don't have the two BTs and Orange, I'll be honest. But Teraco is our biggest partner with the most connections in both SA North and SA West. And that's the second, that's a cross connect. The third cost is off your enterprise agreement or pay as you go, depending on how you're buying the service. You need to buy an ExpressRoute circuit of speeds 50 meg all the way up to 10 gigs. And that would be a third cost. This is the only cost that will come directly off your EA or pay as you go. These other two costs will be two different contacts. Typically, it's one. You'll have a back-to-back, and you'll pay $1 cost for last mile and cross connect, but it could be two. So this is maybe just to highlight it and show you guys where the costs come from. We've had customers saying, we just paid a few thousand to get to Teraco, now we must pay you more money to connect to Azure. Unfortunately, that's how it works. This is the gateway I spoke about. And then the customer themselves will build a connection right through this, and then they will actually connect to that gateway and hit the VNet or VM that's sitting in their IaaS with private peering, or if they've got Microsoft peering, they will then connect to our other clouds via Microsoft peering and actually have access to that as well. So there's two types of peerings you can actually build on the ExpressRoute. So zooming in a bit, I mentioned partner edge and I mentioned Microsoft edge, and then I said you'll have a primary and a secondary connection. This is where you would have, say, 100 meg here and 100 meg on this connection, giving you a total of 200, but you're only paying for 100. The difference is the SLA is only on the 100. The SLA is not on the 200. So that's the one thing I must highlight. People think, you know, I've got a 200 meg line, my SLA is 200. It's not. The SLA is on the 100. And we're still in SLA if by any chance either the cross connect or cloud exchange secondary port goes down or primary port goes down, we're still in SLA if one of the two ports are running. So that's just a highlight. How do you connect as customer, or how you as a partner will actually pull a customer through to Teraco? 3 ways plus a direct way, which I'll touch on now. But Cloud Exchange Colo, this is starting to become the most popular, where a customer or a partner has a colo piece of equipment, typically a layer 3 switch or edge router, sitting in Teraco, and they've got a ring of fiber with customers hooked onto it. And customer A will go through this colo, and from here through the cross connect hit into Azure. So that is the one, colo. Next is point-to-point Ethernet. You might have a layer 2 coming all the way into Teraco, and from Teraco have a layer 3 box, and the layer 3 with a partner would then connect you to Azure. Or the simplest, in my eyes, is MPLS or IPVPN. And you will have, say, here branch 1, branch 2, and Azure gets seen as branch 3. And the difference is all it takes is a very small VRF to be set up, primary and the secondary, and this VRF then connects into Azure with a cross connect, and every branch sees Azure. The last one, ExpressRoute Direct, is exactly what it says. You have the choice as a customer to buy ports that are facing Microsoft directly, and you don't have to have this cross-connect partner to connect you to Microsoft. You then have to maintain your own 2 boxes sitting at Teraco. We will make available 2 ports, and then you run your ports directly to us and not smaller than 10 gigabits. You have to have 2 10s connecting to us, and we will then treat you as a wholesaler, but only for internal. You can't take this service and then on-sell to others. To on-sell, you have to become a C3 partner and become a cross-connect partner. So this is just for customers who want to have direct connectivity. There's another plus, which I'll show now, but in that model is the only partner that can actually connect direct. A quick picture, I just thought I'll steal a nice little logo here from Teraco, just to show how a customer with a layer 3 or MPLS would actually connect all the way through to the Microsoft Edge and into our VNets. And just for simplicity, make all the hops. On the edge, if it's layer 3, there'll be BGP running on this router, running all the way through on layer 2, and then connecting to partner edge, who's going to cross connect them through into Azure. And the beauty of that is you as a customer can manage your own BGP or your own MPLS. If it's layer 2, it's different. You'll be carried from your edge, this is customer, through to a customer or a customer cage. And from here, you could go to a partner, and the partner then will do the layer 3 for you on your behalf. If you're not BGP savvy or you don't have a networking division, you then can actually just hand off to a partner, and the partner will connect you through to Microsoft Edge. That's the beauty of going layer 2. You will have to, and it's fine for Teraco, take a rack or half a rack to actually home or house and host a bit of your equipment in Teraco itself. But the beauty of this is you don't have, if you have an issue on the last miles and you've got other resources running, these resources will still be available to hit Azure. You could remote in via internet and take remote desktops to these resources while they're fixing your last mile into Teraco. How does it look once it's provisioned? The circuit itself, of course, the word provision comes up, but there's a lot of work that happens between sending the key to Teraco and once Teraco gets the key to get it provisioned. What we're going to see just now, I just want to get the actual steps. The steps that we need to go through. Customer technical team has got two responsibilities. They have to naturally decide what subscription. They have to decide what type of connectivity they're going to connect, the three options to connect to Teraco. Then they have to go and connect and select in the portal a service provider. So they're choosing Teraco, they'll go Teraco, peering location, say Joburg, bandwidth, let's go easy, 100 megabits. And then billing model, which I'll touch on just now, but is it metered? So you pay per gig egress, or is it unlimited? And then you have to decide on standard, premium, or local. So all of this is customer. Once that happens, the service key, and that's where the magic starts, is the S key, gets sent to cloud@teraco.coza, and Andrew and his team receive that. They start provisioning the circuit. With the previous screen you saw was unprovisioned, it moves into provisioned, but they need to have a bit more information from you. They need to know VLAN IDs, they need to know BGP AS, and they need to have a /29 network. Once they have all of that, they can actually connect your circuit through to Microsoft's Edge. From there onwards, you need to set up routing naturally, BGP, and then the next step after that is create a gateway and a connection. And then, of course, customer's technical team has to provision that and has to connect. So this is a three-stage. It's creating the S key, handing it over to Teraco and supporting them. And often I sit in on these calls to get these circuits provisioned and tested. And then from there onwards, step 3 is where customer's technical team will actually start linking virtual networks and checking end-to-end connectivity. Speed-wise, these are the speeds. I converted back to rands. We often talk in dollars, but I went to rands. If you go metered and most of your data is moving into Azure and consuming, and you are presenting that out to the internet, to your consumers, then a 50 meg or 100 meg ExpressRoute is perfect. Costs are low, 800 Rand a month is the Microsoft, the $C. You still got a $A and $B. If you want to connect to South Africa West and South Africa and Europe, you need to actually go to premium. So standard price will connect you to SA North, SA West. If you want to connect anywhere outside of our geo, which is SA North, SA West, you get to bump up to 2,300. So same 50 megabits, 2,300, and that is metered, meaning ingress is free. Egress, we charge a rate of 2 Rand 12 cents for egress. If you are going to be egressing a lot of data, then I suggest you look at the other options. The best is if you start looking at egress and you want high speeds, take a 1 gig ExpressRoute local. You notice just now we did not have local in because local only works with unlimited data plan. 1 gig ExpressRoute local, 30,000 Rand a month. If you look at ExpressRoute standard, 1 gig, 132. Now that's a massive jump just to have access to SA North and SA West. So those are the two regions you can connect with a standard circuit. If you're only connecting to SA North, which 99% of the time you are because your primary region is SA North, then I suggest, and Microsoft sales don't like to hear this, I suggest going ExpressRoute local, the 30,000 Rand SKU, not the 132. If you have to connect to Europe and you've got services, in different DCs, one in Europe, one in US, you then unfortunately, and you want unmetered or unlimited, you have to go premium, and then you're in for 154. So plan well, standard, premium, and local, and decide on what you need, because definitely if it's unlimited, you're on this page. If it's local, go for local, do not go for standard or premium. Okay, let's look at local. What SKUs we have? Cape Town, we have ExpressRoute Local, and Johannesburg. So you're in luck. It's cheaper to have 2 ExpressRoute Locals, one in Joburg, one in Cape Town. That's 60,000 rands, than a ExpressRoute Standard at 152,000 rand. So rather go 2 locals than 1 standard. Direct, let's get to the direct screen. There. The big plus of direct is, as a direct partner, you can buy either 10 gig or 100 gig. And you then will have a direct port into Microsoft's network. You bring your own keys, and this is the one thing I didn't say earlier. We've got a technology called MACsec. Now with MACsec, we can actually encrypt on a layer 2 between your customer or partner edge and Microsoft's edge. And that looks like this. Without MACsec, it's not encrypted, and it goes through partner. We trust our partner, of course, but without it, it's not encrypted. If you are in financial services, typically the banks, the Reserve Bank stipulates you have to have encryption between on-prem and any hyperscaler. That's when you take the option of ExpressRoute Direct, and you have on layer 2 a full encryption between partner edge, or in this case, it'll become customer edge, and Microsoft edge. And this is a tick box for South African Reserve Bank. So all banks are looking at this route and going this way. So if you're talking to banks, just mention Reserve Bank, you need encryption, they'll go with MACsec. Quick pictorial, how it works, and maybe I'll speed up just to get to the other slides, but typically it's Microsoft edges, partner edges, and on-prems, and the traffic between these with a standard, why is this here? A standard and a premium circuit, you're allowed to hit SA North and SA West, and you can peer them. If I go with a ExpressRoute Local, which you see on top here, I can move that. Okay, sorry. ExpressRoute Local, you can only hit the region that you're connected to, and there's no way that you can connect to any other region, but you can peer. So keep that in mind as well. The peer is there, but we're going to charge you egress from the other region, SA West or Europe, whichever one you're peering with. You just can't build a gateway there and have a connection through. Get this out the way. Cool. And any questions, just fire away. ExpressRoute Direct, here it is. That's encryption between those two, MACsec, and customer connects here straight into his region. ER designs, you might have this requirement where you've got on-prem in Joburg, on-prem in Cape Town, plus you've got your own backbone between Joburg and Cape Town, but you're only running in Joburg. You can then run a ExpressRoute circuit from both, and you can have, say, in your eyes, primary, and this is your secondary circuit. Maybe you still got primary and secondary links in each one of these circuits. So it's actually 4 links into our SA North. And if the secondary goes down, Cape Town can come up the backbone and go through primary, or vice versa. Primary can go down to Joburg. If they both go down, then you're having a bad day. Not a good one. Then this comes in. You've got what we call the bow tie. You have a circuit in SA North, service in SA North, service in SA West. You're peering between them. So that's one form of redundancy, or HA. You have a gateway in both, and then you run 2 ExpressRoute circuits, one there with a main connection into Joburg, and a second circuit, the main connection into Cape Town. But in each circuit, you run 2 connections, and these connections are failed over to the other region gateway, and that's bow tie. So any circuit can go down, you still have full connectivity, you still have customers' private backbone, plus you got peering. And these big banks are going this route as well. ExpressRoute Direct, local here, and they've got bow ties between the two regions. Next one is, let me build. So this is ExpressRoute Global Reach. Now with Global Reach, you need to have one ExpressRoute in one region and a second ExpressRoute in another region, these yellow lines. Then if you want to take on-prem database to on-prem database and actually do and have a backup of this database on-prem to on-prem. So think of a very long fly lead between Joburg and Cape Town. We offer the feature to switch on Global Reach. And what Global Reach does, it basically over our backbone interconnects these two express routes. And it allows for this traffic flow from on-prem to on-prem. Very nice way of having offsites backup in Azure and offsite from Cape Town into Joburg and vice versa. So you can do this way as well using Global Reach. Small caveat, we're waiting for our ICASA approval for SA West. We do have SA North as Global Reach ready. So SA West is still not ready in Global Reach. So keep that in mind. But any other regions, say it was Western Europe, you could take here from Amsterdam data over our backbone and drop it here into Joburg as a continuous trickle feed with Global Reach enabled. So let's move up into, and how are we looking? 10:02. We still got what, 10 minutes, Yolandi? Are we still good with 10 minutes, eh?
Yeah, that's good.
Do we have Gaurav on standby?
We do. He is.
We do. Cool. Okay, so virtual WAN, quick overview. It's exactly what it says. It's virtual and it's WAN. We give you full privilege of using our global backbone to interconnect any branch, any site, any user over our backbone by flicking a few buttons in your own portal. So no contracts, no back-to-back 3-year MPLS contracts with the big players. You come to Microsoft, you use us for an hour, you don't like it, you switch it off, you stop paying. So the beauty of it is pay as you use. The 5 pillars, connectivity, of course, that's coming into the hub. Once you're in the hub, we allow you to go hub to hub or branch to branch through the same hub to hub across hubs. We can secure the virtual hub by flipping a switch, and then it becomes a full integrated firewall, and any branch or any virtual network can be allowed or disallowed to talk to each other. We can allow routing between all of the gateways within the same hub. And then we've got a new feature called the Integrated Virtual Network Appliance, where our partners are building network virtual appliances in the hub. And to you as a customer or provider, you see that as seamless, meaning you are talking directly to the product and you're not using our portal to actually set up routing and VPN tunnels. So at this stage, I normally show partners, and we get a lot of oohs and ahs. These are all the partners that have signed up with our virtual WAN service in worldwide. Big partners like all of the big 40s, all the big Cisco's, checkpoints. So firewall companies and SD-WAN companies have all approached us. And they have got code where the control plane of their products, so say Cisco Viptela control plane with vManage, talks directly into our control plane and creates a branch and sets up the tunnel. Same with Meraki, same with Silver Peak, same with Versa, same with VeloCloud. The bottom right here are the only 3 to date that are embedded in the NVA as an NVA in the hub. And that is Viptela, Barracuda, and VeloCloud. The others are starting to fall into this box as well. That means you can manage end-to-end connectivity, and your hub gets seen just as a big Cisco Viptela V8000 instead of Cisco Edge ISRs talking into our vWAN gateway. And all these partners are active. You might be on the call as well. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm busy with a lot of POCs with these partners. I've got a lot of this hardware sitting in my lab. So very keen to help you guys set up and test your environments as well. Traditional MPLS, just to speed up a bit, you would be talking over MPLS gateway, MPLS core, sorry, not gateway. You'll have a single, typically a single egress to the internet. And if you want to go onto Azure, you'll have a single ExpressRoute. Nice, but it's old ways of doing things. Single point of failures, this side, choking or hairpinning on the internet to hit our services. Why not go the SD-WAN route and build your network in this way, where you're using the underlay of the SD-WAN provider. We don't take that away from you. We allow you to load NVA in Azure in our virtual WAN. Then you have this running as a spoke, and you can still hit all your front end and your back end from any branch, and you still have egress direct over the internet to hit the O365 PaaS or SaaS services. So the yellow line comes in for that. But the NVA in Azure is not running integrated, it's running in a spoke. And this is a Azure VNet and not a virtual WAN. So if we move on to what virtual WAN does for you, it still gives you the full backbone and full SDN interconnectivity. So we don't replace any of that. But what we do give you is a direct connection onto our vWAN hub gateways or the integrated NVA in the vWAN hub. Plus we give you interconnectivity worldwide to any hub you want to go to every region. That's 62 regions worldwide. You can actually create services. So think of someone like a Coca-Cola would come to us saying, you know, I've got, say, 40 countries I'd like to connect to. We say, sure, choose your virtual WAN hub locations. These are where we are. And take either ExpressRoute into the hub or a site-to-site VPN connection over the internet into the hub. And, you know, go on your merry way and interconnect. And this is what happens. Your underlying can all interconnect. You don't have to happen through a ExpressRoute, depending on what size of branch you have on egress or ingress. There you decide, is it ExpressRoute or not, or is it just site-to-site VPN? And then when you want to hit local, you break out from the branch straight into our Azure front door, which is our services offering you Teams and O365. You don't have to hit a single pop, say in Joburg, Cape Town, to connect to us. You can break out directly from the branch. So the beauty of this is simple to go from a working SD-WAN through to a working virtual WAN. Depending on vendor, some have got different tricks, but I've seen a lot of them. So if you want to reach out, I could maybe put you to, you know, in touch with partners and vendors who have got interconnectivity with us and with their product and with Azure. So putting it all together, we call it any to any. I call it a plate of spaghetti because it's, imagine any branch to any branch across any hub worldwide, from any VNet to any VNet, or any branch to any VNet, or any user to any VNet to any branch. Lots of any's. So you could be a user sitting here, you'll hit the local pop closest to you, and then you got access to everyone. You can allow or disallow that. So it's open by design. You can block these two VNets because they're production, that remote users can't hit it, but guys on-prem can hit the VNets. This VNet can't see this VNet, but he can see this VNet. So all of these designs, we call it custom routing across virtual WAN. Billings are egress. So every time you egress a hub, that's when we ask for some dollars. And every time you egress from a hub down to on-prem, we ask for dollars. Into VNet, we don't. Egress to a user, we do ask for dollars as well. But egress to a branch, naturally we do. So all of those permutations comes into the billings. And once you've got that set up on billings, you can have it any to any. Size of gateways is a very interesting thing. Then I just want to open up my gateways. In a virtual WAN hub, typically you got VPN gateway, 20 gigabits per second. ExpressRoute gateway, 20 gigs per second. User VPN, 20 gigs. And Azure Firewall, 20 gigs. So you got an 80 gig backplane between these four. And when you have a NVA, the NVA also gets 20 gigs. So that NVA would be Viptela, Barracuda, and VeloCloud. So this is the actual virtual hub, and we've got transit routing between every single one of these gateways. You don't pay for the transit routing, you only pay for egress to a VNet and ingress from the VNet, or egress to another hub, or egress to another branch. So this is how that works. And about on the dot, 4 o'clock, I'm ready now for questions, if you guys have any.
Vince, I see in the question box, our first question here is, when will SA West be available for all clients?
For all clients, okay, sure, no pressure. All I can say is soon. Now, we've had a lot of pressure, naturally, from customers saying, should I go to AWS or are you guys opening? We did indicate from day one it's a satellite region, but we are definitely seeing the requirement and the need to actually spin up a fully blown SA West. So yes, we hear you all, and maybe you guys can send us all the questions saying we need it, and we can tally up another 100 off this call. But that message has hit home, and Lillian at the office is dealing with it in a big way. So definitely yes, it's not going to happen. It is going to happen.
Perfect. Second question, where can I go on the Azure portal to activate ExpressRoute to Teraco?
To Teraco, okay. You'll need to go into the Azure portal. You go to your search bar, Control G or G/, type ExpressRoute. When you hit the ExpressRoute blade, you just click create. On create, it'll say location, provider, speed, and SKU. So location will be, in your case, if you want, Johannesburg, provider, Teraco. Actually, it's provider first before location. Provider, Teraco, location, Johannesburg, speed, 50 meg, SKU, standard, or premium, or local. So it's in the actual portal. Once you click create, bear in mind, you are paying Microsoft from that moment onwards. So I will, let's say, queue up your last mile provider, queue up Teraco, saying I'm about to build my ExpressRoute circuit to generate the key. Once that key is generated, we are billing the customer. We've had customers a little bit upset saying, you know, it's taken 3 months for me to get my fiber in the ground. My cross connect was quick. Teraco's got an awesome turnaround time, 48 hours or better. And now I'd like a credit for two months. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. So I always say, prepare last mile, get Teraco ready, and then click S key, and it just goes through. So yeah, that's my advice to anybody signing up on ExpressRoute.
Perfect. Okay, then last one, is there still a case for Microsoft peering over ExpressRoute?
Ah, great. So that's coming up just now. So Microsoft peering over ExpressRoute is typically, or can be used, to hit any PaaS or SaaS service that we offer. So if you want to hit your storage accounts over the public IP address, you can spin up Microsoft services. If you want to run SQL managed instance and hit over the public, you can. Why it's becoming less and less required is we've now got services called private endpoint and private link. And what that does for you is it disables public access to any of your services that you want to hit, and you then get private link. So you go ExpressRoute private link, and with that you can hit what we call a private endpoint, and that private endpoint is a proxy to that PaaS or SaaS service. It keeps it all in your own private network. You aren't exposing any of your storage accounts out to the internet for possible hackers to try and hit them. The one that is excluded in our region is O365. You then need to sign up with Gurov, our next speaker, and that is Azure, is Microsoft Azure peering services, and that's Maps. And with Maps, you'll see is a direct link through the cross connect at NAP Africa, and NAP Africa is a Maps partner as well. The customer can connect through the NAP Africa connection over the cross connect into our Maps service, which does not need an ExpressRoute connectivity to actually be running to give you O365. So I don't want to take the thunder from Gurov, maybe I can hand over to Gaurav now, if that's the last question.
Yeah, that is the last question. We can now go over to Gaurav. Gaurav, welcome. We are looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Vince. Great session.
Great, thanks. Let me just stop sharing, or you want to grab my screen?
No, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, share.
Yeah. Okay. Hope everyone is able to see my screen.
Yes, we are.
That's good.
Great. Thank you, Vince. Great session. Just quick introduction. My name is Gaurav. I'm the product manager for Microsoft Azure peering services, as well as taking care of the internet strategy for Microsoft public cloud services. So quickly, considering the time, I'll be going little quick. Yeah,
You just want to
and then
maximize your screen, Gaurav?
just give me one sequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Thanks, man.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Great. If we talk about Microsoft Cloud Connectivity Solutions, as my friend Vince mentioned, of course, for public private connectivity, we have ExpressRoute, which enables hybrid cloud solutions, and there are two models: direct as well as via partners like Teraco and others. It is optimized for Azure, but not so optimized for M365 services, and sometimes you have to go as special approvals, and it's by default not the recommended solution here. And the other solution is public internet, where if we say we have 180 plus POP locations where we connect to the local ISPs and all. But if we talk about internet, it's still considered as a best effort connectivity, and generally there are no performance assurances or SLAs on that. And to overcome this challenge, and why we are trying to solve the problem of public internet with optimization is this reason. There's public cloud opportunities and challenges. Like on the public cloud opportunities, if we talk about, the SaaS services are growing and more customers are adopting to internet first strategy if they're using even SD-WAN solutions, or the way our SaaS services are structured. They are oops, sorry, it's going auto. So it's structured more via internet connectivity. So even Office 365 teams recommend for a local internet breakout for SaaS services and all. More and more services, like this pandemic put us on a different challenge. Oops, I don't know why it is flicking automatically. It put us on a challenge where teams and all communication services really grew very fast. Another domain is cloud gaming, where not only Microsoft X Cloud services, but even third-party players are hosting their services on our cloud, and uh, they want optimized public cloud connectivity to their games for users to have a great experience. And we are expanding on our edge zones for mobile edge computing platforms close to the end users. I'm sorry, the screen is flicking again. What challenge we face on internet side? It's a poor reliability, sometimes suboptimal performances. You can call it as a suboptimal routing. There are no lack of there's lack of support and SLAs, lack of security against internet anomalies, missing network performance insights and all. You don't know how much bandwidth or traffic you're getting and all. So to answer these questions, we introduce something called Microsoft Azure Peering Service, and what it does. It's basically a platform in partnership with ISPs and IXPs across the globe, and it is to enhance the public cloud connectivity experience. So what we are doing in this model is, we are building highly reliable local and geo-redundant interconnect between MS and partners. We are ensuring that the customer traffic is served through the nearest POP location to Microsoft. And why? As my friend Vince mentioned, we have invested heavily into our backbone and edge footprint, and that is basically to ensure that our customers have good connectivity experience available. So we don't want to rely much on a public internet, and we want to carry traffic as much as possible on our backbone and hand it over close to the users. So earlier the challenge was, even on the POP, let's say we take it to the nearest POP in your region, but still the traffic could go on any one of the network and it would not have given you a best experience. So here in Maps, what we are doing is we are ensuring the traffic stays on Microsoft and partner network only, and it doesn't traverse the internet route or transiting via other ISPs not directly connected with us. Uh, Partners are offering SLAs for connectivity to Microsoft Cloud Services. It's the availability SLA. Some partners are offering, but it's complete in discretion with the partner. And in some partner cases, even end-to-end QoS for team services is also possible. The path security, we have an internal system called Radar, or route anomaly detection and remediation. It's a very enhanced and advanced version which monitors the route for its authenticity while learning over internet, for any route hijack or leak or man in middle kind of attacks and all. And it prevents the user's traffic from getting redirected to malicious actors. So all these pieces put together comprise of what we call it as Microsoft Azure peering service. And what all solutions can be available? I mean, this platform can help enterprise grade and generally direct internet access solutions from the partners, optimize broadband connectivity from the partners, mobile connectivity, or even metro Ethernet services and all. And there are two models. There is a little difference between the model via ISP and IXP, and I'll talk more on the IXP platform and how it achieves here. Quickly, what the service features I'll touch base. One is the optimized path, the cold potato routing, you can call it as. We serve the traffic to the nearest POP to the user. For any Microsoft public cloud services you would be accessing anywhere, you would enter and exit to the nearest interconnect location to you from the with the partner. So let's say if a partner is distributed and your branches are distributed, you need not to enter or concentrate your traffic via one entry point. It can enter from multiple near by local points, and you can define that, okay, what appears to be the nearest point. You can mention your location and all. We will not throw your traffic over to third-party networks or internet or in transit. And the good news is we understand that for your branches and all, you may have smaller prefixes. When I say smaller, basically smaller than /24 in size, and we support routing for smaller prefixes also, which on a public internet is not supported in general. Highly reliable. Not only we have regional redundancy with the partners and local redundancy, of course, but in the event of say primary connection failure, the customer has a choice to get the traffic routed via the alternate site for optimized performance. Route protection, as I mentioned, it's against malicious actors. And quickly jumping, so there is a not third party, it's a Microsoft Azure only service called Connection Monitor, which you can use to measure your network performance, and that is integrated with the Maps platform. However, it would require an agent installation on your side to monitor the network performance here. I'll quickly skip these scenarios for the moment and jump directly to IX platform. This is exact replica of Teraco's platform, what we have built. Why IXPs as a partner? We believe IXPs are integral part of the internet ecosystems, and they offer services to many of our customers just beyond internet peering, like hosting, managed services, or cloud access solutions. And many of our customers are part of this setup and all. So the question may come that, okay, Microsoft, we are present at Teraco or any other public internet exchange. Why can't we have direct peering with you over the public exchange setup? No, we don't encourage direct peering with the customers for multiple reasons. So that's why we have come up with an exclusive exchange setup in partnership with the IXPs, and Teraco has been a great partner in that domain. So it's a you can consider it as a exclusive Microsoft exclusive exchange setup, where enterprise customers can directly reach out to Microsoft public cloud services if they have ASN and IP range. If they don't have, then also there is a solution. And we have a dedicated capacity for this setup, and it's a closed user group setup. The subnet used on this setup is not announced over to internet or by Microsoft or partner. So I'll not call it as a secure, because again it's a public peering. But yeah, it creates a isolated environment and direct interconnect with Microsoft network for the great experience. And as I mentioned, it's a exchange setup. Partner facilitates your connection. You need not to onboard with Microsoft. Only thing you need to do is just like Teraco as a partner will help you onboard onto platform, and it's a couple of clicks away. You need to just register your ASN. Teraco as a partner will share the key for your ASN. Once you have the key, you can register any prefix originating out of your ASN, and that will enable the optimized routing on this platform. This we call it as option one. In some cases, you can say that, oh, I don't have my own IP range, or I don't have my own public ASN. So how should I connect to this service? For that, there is a solution where Teraco acts as a gateway service in between. So we are connected to Teraco's network devices, and through that, you can be part of that layer 2 domain, which Teraco has exclusive for this setup, to connect to Microsoft public cloud services here. Who are our partners in this story so far? So I'll come to this slide first. Yeah, we have almost 20 plus partners. I have listed not all here, but there are 20 plus partners in the market who can offer Microsoft Azure peering services, and we are adding more and more partners across the globe. What partner technical requirements are? They need to have a redundant interconnect links, geo-redundant links. They for disaster recovery solutions and all. You should be able to hand over the traffic to us on the closest location, interconnect location, which we will have with you. Um, we need to advertise. You need to tag all those routes which you want the optimized routing for maps with a particular community which Microsoft has a well-defined. And smaller routes, like smaller than /24, there should be a global route to cover for it in the event that, okay, if the smaller route fails out, we should be able to fall over to alternate solutions rather than causing a blackout. And don't announce routes with AS length 2 or more, because the system will reject that. That's more, this is more of a partner technical requirements. But if you are looking for customer solution on this platform, then as I mentioned, these two solutions are there. And I will take a pause here for any questions we may have.
Gaurav, I see there is one question. In case I peer with Microsoft in South Africa and Paris, how can I optimize the routes? I'm from an operator in Reunion.
Okay, so if you have the IP ranges in both the geographies, like say in the Europe as well as in Africa, you can map those to both the geographies, and you on the portal you can define that, okay, these are my Paris prefixes, and these are my Africa region prefixes, and we on our network, based on your definitions, we will prefer the exit points. And on our side, we announce all our prefixes over all our interconnects so that you can hand over the traffic to us on the nearest interconnect location to you.
Perfect. I think that is all questions for now. So I think we can proceed so we can get to the last part of our session. Just as a reminder to attendees, if you have any questions for the Microsoft team, please put them in the Q&A.
Thank you. I'll stop my screen here.
Are you good, Gaurav?
Yes, that was the main thing. But if there are any further questions, or if customer or partner wants a small demo of the service, I can give that.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Gaurav. As I mentioned, any questions for the Microsoft team, please put them in the Q&A. We will now be going over to Tony from DevBox. Over to you, Tony. You are still on mute.
There we go. I've unmuted myself. Thank you. Yolandi, thank you, and welcome everybody. Let's get started. So just a little bit about me. My name is Tony Yannick Kalombo. I am the founder of DevBox, which is a software company. We specialize in software-defined network automation. And our mission is really to help organizations focus their energies on their business growth and to focus their time more on strategic activities rather than operational and repeatable tasks, which can be delegated to intelligent systems. We are a Cisco partner in the Southern Africa region. We're an AFRINIC member, and we run an autonomous system, as well as our contributors to the Open Networking Foundation. About me, I've been doing the technology thing for a couple of years of my life now, and I've had the privilege to work in multiple industries. So I have a big passion for understanding what an organization's needs are for automation and translating that into software or into systems that can allow a company to to go to the next level. And as you know, there's no better time to automate than now. And if you didn't know that, I'm sure COVID gave us a good awakening. And I run a DevBox podcast as well. But essentially at DevBox, what we do is system integration, and I touched on the network automation. There's lots of logos of pretty much all the technologies that we use while automating systems. And we are API centric in integrating systems, be they CRM or ERP or telemetry, ticketing, network provisioning and management, as we have done with Teraco. And we also are DevOps centric, and we also focus on cloud computing, and we make some very good use of Microsoft Azure's infrastructure, and we have experience with other cloud providers as mentioned below as well. To get in touch with me, you're welcome to email me or to give me a call on my details below, or to visit www.devbox.com and send us a message. So the Africa Cloud Exchange is what we will be presenting today. And essentially, you've seen this diagram, Sarah and Vince have touched on this. If you are using Microsoft Azure's direct ExpressRoute service, then you would have your network and you would have an interconnection with Teraco at the Africa Cloud Exchange, and you essentially then would be provisioning a virtual circuit over the ExpressRoute to have access to workloads or services that are hosted on Microsoft's infrastructure. And what we have done is, as Vince mentioned, once you receive your S key, you would then liaise with the Teraco team in order for your virtual circuit to be provisioned. And there's some information that the Teraco team would need from you. And we've taken that process and we've automated it, allowing you to interact seamlessly with a platform that's not only API centric, but also has a user interface. And the platform handles questions or aspects relating to billing, such as the invoicing for the services that you purchase. And it has workflows that allow the automation of the service provisioning on the network, as well as with the CRM systems that are involved. And of course, it also allows notifications to be sent so that you know what's happening on the services that you have with Teraco. Very important, of course, is authentication, not just authentication, but authorization and access as well. So we, in other words, the APIs are secure, your logins and your credentials are also secure. So each transaction is actually managed in a secure manner. So that's my quick presentation. And I prefer to do the showing and less of the talking. So I'm handing over to Zukiswa to give you some further information. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Let me share my screen on my side. Hello, everyone. It's good to have you all, and I think we've learned so much today. What I'll do, I'll just touch briefly on Africa Cloud Exchange to explain what the product is about. Before I start, let me introduce myself. So my name is Zukiswa Njamini. I'm a development manager, look after Africa Cloud Exchange solution. And I'm sure everyone is wondering, where does this solution fit in? I mean, to what has been shared. Thanks, Tony, you've already touched on it briefly. Just to give you an overview, just let me know, guys, if you can see my PowerPoint.
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool, awesome. Just to give you guys a high-level overview of Africa Cloud Exchange, as you all know, and I think Vince also mentioned this, there are many ways to connect to the cloud providers. You know, I mean, one of the requirements is to start looking at your cloud journey. And I suppose when you start defining your cloud journey, you start looking at your bandwidth requirements, your security requirements, which workloads you wanna migrate over to, you know, to Microsoft, in this case, ExpressRoute. So while you're busy defining that, it's also important to understand the connectivity types. So basically, Africa Cloud Exchange gives you that connectivity to ExpressRoute. And one of the key things that we do, we offer a private connection. And this private connection is to connect you to the cloud providers, such as Microsoft ExpressRoute. And the key around this, you obviously get access, and your traffic never touches the internet at all, so it remains private. And the other advantage, again, of Africa Cloud Exchange, you start looking at providing or activating virtual circuits to those multiple providers over a single physical connection. I'll just spend a little bit of time there to explain the physical connection. As we all know, for any connectivity, you require a layer 1 service, and that could be a cross connect from your switch to another device. In this case, it's a cross connect from your switches or router to our infrastructure, meaning Africa Cloud Exchange. Once we've established that, you also need to determine the port speed, you know, for that specific cross connect. As you know, you would have defined your cloud journey, your bandwidth requirements, and so on, which happens outside this connectivity. Once you've defined that, you obviously need to know how much speed do you require from a physical layer. So from a Teraco point of view, we offer 1 gig, 10 gig, or 100 gig in terms of the port speed. And one of the things, obviously, we wanna try and do is to speed up the provisioning process. What I'll do, I'll quickly stop sharing and take you to our new portal, which is ACX. That's what Tony was explaining earlier on, just to show you how to turn up the circuits. But I saw there was a question earlier on asking, how do we activate circuit from an Azure portal? Let me pause right there, because I wanna show you how quick and easy it is to turn up these circuits from our side. You must just let me know if it's now displaying my browser. Can you guys see my portal? Okay. So let me start with the Azure portal. As Vince said earlier on, you would sign in, you go and search for ExpressRoute. You click ExpressRoute circuits, that will load. If you already have existing circuits, those will load. But if you're planning to create a new one, there's an add button on top. You click add, it's gonna load. Let's just give it a few minutes while it's loading. It's very important to obviously, you have to select Teraco in this case, you know, Teraco North as your resource. And then the region, I'm gonna select South Africa North, and Vince already mentioned that. And then you give it a name. So I'll call it Tech Day Demo, that's my name. And then I click next. Okay, this part is important. So we are the ExpressRoute provider. So you select that. Okay, and then you need to select the provider. So I'll search for Teraco on the list. The Teraco pops up. And then your peering location, you select your bandwidth requirements. Again, guys, this is important. Depending on your workloads or what you're planning to access, you know, on your ExpressRoute, it's important to make sure that you select the correct bandwidth. You select the bandwidth, I'll leave it at standard, metered, and then create and review. So this will create the circuit from an Azure portal. What's important while it's busy creating the circuit, obviously it's gonna create, might take less than a minute, hopefully. I'll then copy the service key and take you to the Africa Cloud Exchange. So the portal, I'm just giving you guys a sneak preview. We're going live next month. This is just to let you know that the automation process is in place. It's going to be a quick provisioning setup to do once, obviously, we go live. So while it's deploying the circuit, another thing to mention, obviously, when you start looking at Africa Cloud Exchange, you know, this is a platform that gives you access to these multiple cloud providers, and you can essentially have a single cross connect, but we always encourage clients to take 2 cross connects, obviously one being a primary, and then the other one being a secondary link. What you do with those cross connect, you can then have multiple virtual circuits to the different cloud providers, such as your Microsoft ExpressRoute. Okay, so this is completed. Let me go back to resources. So the circuits that are just created will be listed, but let me copy this quickly. Oh, just one thing to note, as you can see, the current status is not provisioned. Obviously, you've just activated the circuit. As you can see there on top, it says contact or go to your service provider. In this case, it will be Teraco. So I'll copy the service key, go to the Africa Cloud Exchange. In terms of login details, like Tony mentioned earlier on, as soon as you become part of Africa Cloud Exchange network or members, we will create your login details and only you can access the platform. This will be the page if you want to activate the circuit to Microsoft ExpressRoute. We give you a high-level overview of where you can activate the circuit. That's Teraco Isando or Teraco in Cape Town, Rondebosch, okay? And then you click the activate button, activate now. Here, you can give it a description. We obviously asked you to make it unique to you as you know what service this is for. And then here, this is where you'll copy the service key. But before I paste the service key I created, let me pick one of the existing service keys. Again, this is important. If you have more than one interface, you need to make sure that you select the correct interface, and the system will also give you an option to select multiple interface. And the reason for that is to make sure that our system pushes the configuration to the correct interface on our switching fabric. I will select an existing VLAN. I just want you guys to see that we do validation in the background. When you click submit, it gives you an overview of the terms and conditions, when you can cancel the service. And of course, this is a paid service. It goes on a month-to-month as well. The minute you accept, it's gonna do the validation. Woo, now we know. VLAN 314, it's already in use, meaning that this won't allow you to proceed. We also suggest VLANs that are available for you to use, so you can maybe select 1078, and then let me paste the service key and click submit. That should then, if I accept here, it will then provision the circuit. The status will then change from our side to provision state, but let's give it a few minutes while it's busy provisioning. Obviously, this will replicate or push the changes to our Azure portal. As soon as this is completed, we'll just give it a few minutes and then it should update the Azure portal as well with the circuit details. But guys, if you have any questions, about Africa Cloud Exchange, you can reach to us. Our email address is cloud@teraco.co.za. Would love to have meetings and then get into the details, the design as well. There you go. So the circuit from an ACX portal, it has been created. Again, in terms of our benefits, we said it's speedy provisioning. As you can see, guys, it took less than a minute from our side to provision the circuit, and it gives you the service key that you provided. The status shows provisioned. It also pulls the bandwidth. If you recall, we didn't provision the bandwidth, while I was doing this exercise. It pulls it directly from Azure, so it pulls our bandwidth as 50 megs. It tells you when this was created, and also billing is active. Should you decide to cancel for whatever reason, the cancellation button is here, but I won't be canceling the service. So this circuit will be loaded under public clouds. Here's the circuit. As obviously, you add more circuits, all of them will be loaded here. If you've deprovisioned the circuit, the status changes accordingly, but this is the one we've just created. Let me quickly go to the Azure portal to check if this has replicated. Express circuit, demo, I think it's this one, demo one. Yes, the status has changed to provisioned. That's about it for now. As I said, please do reach out to us, cloud@teraco.co.za. We'd like to engage with you and to discuss this and get our technical guys to assist with the design. Thank you, everyone.
Cool. Thank you so much, Suki. Let's see. I don't see any questions. Are there any questions for any of our presenters? Please, if you have any questions, pop them into the Q&A section. For now, I'd like to say thank you all for joining our session today. We appreciate you taking the time to attend. And thank you to our panelists for presenting today and giving us some very useful information. And that is it for today. So again, any last questions, please pop them into the Q&A. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. We would we look forward to seeing you at our next Tech Day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Yolandi. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, everybody.